Welcome back, you beautiful twisted mother lovers. I dive deep every week to bring you everything twisted, and it's all well researched and based on true events. So go ahead, pull up a couch, and invite your friends while I take you on this twisted journey into the unknown in today's episode of Twisted Couch Talk. Welcome back, you beautiful twist heads. You guys are so amazing. I'm your guys' host, Brandon Stone, and today it's going to be just me, but Cornelius was pretty disturbed by the last episode, and he decided to sit this one out. We're going to miss him, and hopefully he, comes back and does a couple episodes. But nonetheless, we're still going to have some fun. And by the way, thank you guys so much for downloading and rating and all that. Also, thank you guys for messaging me on Facebook and getting a hold of me and adding me and suggesting some things. And I'll mention that all in the updates. There's going to be updates at the end of the episode and corrections and stuff like that. But some of them are funny, and some of them I'm like, oh, I messed that up really bad. So we'll talk about all that at the end. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get into today's topic. This one, okay, so this one's pretty twisted. This one's pretty crazy. I just want to tell you guys this really quick. When I first started reading about this and learning who she was, I was going to originally take her story, twist it up real tight, put it in a crock pot, and really just roast her. After I found out about her childhood and all the traumatic things that she went through, I'm not really going to, bash on her that bad until she's an adult and she's making poor decisions. And I thought she was crazy. I thought she was, just this insane person who needed just to be on death row. She did horrible things. Once I started really reading and learning what the story was, I don't want to say I developed some sort of sympathy because she still did what she did, but I definitely want to get all the truth out on this because some people were like back in her corner because of some of the things that they didn't know that I'm going to mention. And so I want you guys to pretty much form your own opinion. I'll give my opinion. And I'll be, with their sensitive topics, this might be a little bit triggering to some people. Listen at your own cost. I want you guys to form your own opinions on this and let me know what you think. And throughout the episode, you'll know what I think. Let's just dive on into this. Okay, so a lot of people know this woman as Aileen Wuornos, aka the Monster. There were movies about her, and I'll get into that later. But yeah, she's the monster. So Aileen was born in Rochester, Michigan on February 29th, 1956. And she had multiple names such as Sandra Kirstech, Susan Lynn, Lee Belhavik, that sounds like a Vikings name, Cammie Marsh Green, and so many more. But the one she mainly went by and everybody knew her as was Aileen Wuornos. And on February 29th, 1956, her mother, Diane Wuornos, and her mother was born in 1939. She was 14 years old, and she was married to Aileen's father. And he was just 16 years old. His name was Leo Dale Pittman. Okay, let me take a quick second here. Heck no, you're not marrying my kid at 14, but I guess you got to think that it was different times back then. It had to be like 1940s. I guess that was regular then compared to now. So you have to think of it like that, I suppose. But today there's no way that's happening. No way. My oldest is talking about having boyfriends and she's 8 and I'm like, no. You can have friends, but that's it. But anyway, and time would pass, and Aileen's older brother, Kenneth, was born on March 14th, 1955. After less than 2 years of marriage and 2 months before Aileen was even born, her mother would file for a divorce. So don't get married young. That doesn't ever work. Take time. Take time to build and, learn that person. Don't get married young. It doesn't work out. Sometimes it does. And, congrats to those. So in January 1960, when Wuornos was almost 4 years old, that was she was almost 4 years old when her mother left her and her sibling with her grandparents. Yeah, that makes you question a couple things, definitely. Wow, her mom walking out that young. That's unfortunate. That sucks. But like I said, as we go through this, I'm gonna give my opinion, and then later on, I'm not gonna be so you'll see what I mean. So Aileen and her brother Kenneth go on to live with her alcoholic grandparents, and their names were Lori or Larry, like maybe kind of like a Larry sound. It's Lauri, Laurie, and I'm assuming that's her grandfather, and Britta Wuornos. As it turns out, they both ended up alcoholics who legally adopted Kenneth and Aileen in March 18th, 1960. So Wuornos never really knew her father. He would be incarcerated pretty much her entire life, except for a short period when he went to the Army Reserves and was in the Army. And that's basically what she knew was her father was incarcerated most of her life. Her father, Leo Dale Pittman, was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And for those who don't know schizophrenia or what it means, it's a long-term mental disorder of a type involving a breakdown in the relation between thought and emotion and behavior, leading to faulty perception, inappropriate actions, and feelings, withdrawal from reality and personal relationships into fantasy and delusion, and the sense of mental fragmentation. The major symptoms include hallucinations, typically hearing voices. Ugh, that would be horrible. Delusions, paranoia, and disorganized thinking. Other symptoms include social withdrawal, decreased emotional expression, and apathy. Wow, that's a lot to take in there. Her father, was later convicted of multiple sex crimes against children, and I ended up watching a documentary, and that's where I got a lot of this information, and on Wikipedia and other places, double fact check and all that. One of the charges was for sodomizing an 8-year-old boy, and he later ended up committing suicide by hanging in prison on January 30th, 1969. Okay, so by 1969, her father's dead. Her mom's already left her with her grandparents. They're alcoholics. You'll find out what type of people they are here in a minute. It's horrible. Okay, and another little factor, um, not factor, but another fact, about 0.3% to 0.7% of people are diagnosed with schizophrenia during their lifetime. In 2017, there were an estimated 1.1 million new cases in 2019, a total of 20 million cases globally. Wow, that just shows you how many people could really have this kind of stuff going on with them. This is where it gets a little graphic, but we're gonna get through it. That's what the twist is about, is getting out of that comfort zone, but it's the truth, and I want to get the truth out there. She would, by the age of 11, begin in engaging sexual activities. She would end school for exchange for cigarettes, drugs, and food. Uh, she had also engaged in sexual activities with her brother. Okay, so Wuornos said that her alcoholic grandfather also had sexually assaulted her and beaten her when she was a child. Before beating her, uh, he would force her to strip out of her clothes. Yeah, that's pretty. Makes my that really gets my stomach turning. Okay, and I cannot remember his name, but he was a friend of hers in her childhood, and during court documents and the documentary and all that, he was talking about how they were friends, and he went over there one time and opened up the bedroom door, and her grandmother and grandfather were they were in the bedroom. I believe that's where they said they were. They could have been in another room. He saw them uh, having sex with her, when she was really young, and he didn't do anything about it. He just, I couldn't imagine walking in on that. That really makes me sick. In 1970, At the age of 14, she became pregnant by either her grandfather or her grandfather's best friend due to numerous times of rape. She had an opportunity of studying in school and being successful. She was a good student and had a real opportunity to go to college. But it turns out she turns to prostitution, and that was the answer. And that was the only way that she could think of to make a large amount of money. When Wuornos was 15, her grandfather threw her out of the house. And that's when she really began supporting herself through sex work and living in the woods near her old home. She also said that she would even sleep in a car that was on cinder blocks in the wintertime with no blanket, and she would be freezing. Okay, Wuornos goes on and gives birth to a boy at a home for unwed mothers on March 23rd, 1971. And the child was placed up for adoption. A few months after her son was born, she dropped out of school shortly after her grandmother died of liver failure due to all of the alcohol consumption. Wow. Okay, so her grandmother's dead because of alcohol. And, oh man, if you need to hear this and, you're an alcoholic and you need help, man, there's places to get help. Get help if you need it. After a few months after her son was born, she dropped out of school shortly after her grandmother died of liver failure due to all the alcohol consumption. Wuornos took up the family addiction, of alcoholism and drank heavily all the times and would be arrested in the future a lot. And I don't know, by the first time I would be like, okay, no more, but no more. I don't drink and drive. No, we're not going down that road. On May 27th, 1974, at the age of 18, Wuornos was arrested in Jefferson County, Colorado, for driving under the influence and was charged with a DUI, disorderly conduct, and firing a 22 caliber. Oh, geez, firing a 22 caliber pistol from a moving vehicle. Okay, so this is where we're out of that horrible, horrible childhood, and now we can have a little bit of fun with what she ends up doing. And, in my opinion, I think that's why she ends up doing everything she's doing is because of her childhood. And I want to leave that where it's at. And, that's really unfortunate and that's really horrible. And if anybody knows of anything that something like that is happening, or if you or a loved one that you know is suffering from domestic violence, call this number. Don't suffer in silence. Call the number 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. National Domestic Violence Hotline. Give that a call, guys. Get the help that you guys need. She was shooting a 22 caliber pistol, and it wasn't a pistol. It was actually a revolver from a moving vehicle. She got off on bail and was later charged with failure to appear, and a warrant for her arrest was immediately issued. In 1976, Wuornos hitchhiked to Florida, where she met 69-year-old yacht club president-owner by the name of Louis Gratz Fell. They wasted no time and married quickly and announced their wedding, and it was printed in the local newspaper for everybody to see. By the way, don't ever do that. Don't ever get into a relationship or anything out of just jump it. Just learn who you're getting involved with. Take the time. Life's a long, long time, and it's also too short to waste time just trying to be in a toxic relationship and all that. Just everybody take time, just do it right, and you guys will end up happy. Yeah, so it was all posted in the newspaper. However, I'm telling you, this lady cannot stay out of handcuffs. And she's a grown woman and she's making up her own mind. She's had a long life to live, and she could make these right decisions, but she keeps choosing to go down this ridiculous twisted path. So let's just get in it and have some fun while we're doing it. However, Wuornos continuously involved herself in confrontations at their local bar and went to jail briefly for assault. But the assault didn't stop. She goes on to hit Fell, her husband, and beat him with his own cane, cracked his head open, and because of that, it led to him getting a restraining order against her within weeks of their marriage. Like I was saying, get to know who you're going to be with. That's so important because you really don't know who they are until you are with them for a while. Their true colors will show. Okay, so due to the restraining order, she had no choice but to move back to Michigan, and she went on the straight and narrow, and she ended up opening up a brothel, and it was under the table. All of it was under the table, where the beer was warm and the beatings and gunfire were regular. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. How many of you guys actually started believing that? No, she didn't do that. She doesn't go on the straight and narrow, but she does end up getting into more. She ends up getting into more trouble because she can't put down that sweet firewater. The stuff that burns on the way in and on the way out. Papa's cough medicine. That sweet, sweet nectar. Oh my God, I'm ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm done. I'm done. Anyways, let's get back into it. And shortly after her arrival to Michigan on July 14th, 1976, she was arrested and charged at Bernie's Club for assaulting and disturbing the peace for throwing a cue ball at the bartender's head. Okay. Yeah. So imagine you are working at a bar, and and I watched the movies and the documentaries, and I was just like, she would flip out like quick, you know. Imagine you're a bartender and it's closing time, and that's the last thing you guys want to deal with is a drunk person being any type of way. So you sit there and you're like, all right, closing time, guys, let's go ahead and shut down shop. And all of a sudden, within seconds, somebody just starts berating, just going off. And, oh, I can't believe you guys are shut down, and I'm going to throw this cue ball at your head. And you have to duck. A cue ball is extremely hard, and I don't know if it could kill you, but it probably could. So if you're a bartender, watch out for the drunkies out there. And I know there's some bartenders out there that are listening to this. And keep doing what you guys do. Watch out for the drunkies. Anyways, so okay, just after her arrest on July 17th, her brother Keith ended up dying of esophageal cancer, and Wuornos received $10,000 from his life insurance policy. But for the ones who don't know, esophageal cancer is cancer that forms in the tissue lining in the esophagus. And for those who don't know what the esophagus part is, basically it's the tube that goes from your mouth to your stomach. So right in there on the gullet, he ended up getting a cancerous lump right in there. But now let's get back to her marriage to Fell. They ended up getting their marriage annulled, and their marriage had only lasted for 9 weeks. And this woman can't stop getting into trouble. I mean, you get arrested that many times, and you would think you would stop, but no. Wuornos was given a $105 fine for drunk driving yet again. She used the money she inherited from her brother to pay the fines, and she spent the rest of the money within 2 weeks. She went on to buy luxury items, including a new car, which was wrecked shortly afterwards because she can't stop pounding away that dang firewater. And this woman loved to travel. As you can tell, she went from her birthplace all over, and she's going to keep going. She then leaves Michigan and goes to Florida on May 20th, 1981. Wuornos was arrested. Wescally Wabbit. She was arrested in Edgewater, Florida, for the armed robbery of a convenience store, where she stole 2 packs of cigarettes and $35, and that's all she got. That's all she got away with. She was arrested and put back in jail, and she was released on June 30th, 1983. And now we're going to jump forward a few months. And on May 1st, 1984, she was still in Florida when Wuornos was arrested yet again for attempting to pass forged checks at a bank in Key West. On November 30th, 1985, she was named as a suspect in the theft of a revolver and ammunition in Pasco County, Florida. On January 4th, 1986, Wuornos was arrested again in Miami and charged with car theft, resisting arrest, and obstruction of justice for providing identification bearing her aunt's name. So, yeah, she got in trouble for having an identity. She had an ID with her aunt's name. If you're going to make an ID. If you're going to make a fake ID, make one that's believable. And not McLovin either. That one doesn't work. Except if you're two dumb cops. My twisted couch talk rule number 2. Don't be a McLovin. Don't make a fake ID with a name that's ridiculous and is not going to pass. Don't be a McLovin. Rule number 2. Okay, Miami police officers found a 38 caliber revolver and a box of ammunition in the stolen car, and so they find all this, and yet again, she would get out on bail, and she just keeps getting in more and more trouble. Now, that's what I mean by I want you guys to make your own opinion on this because yeah, she had a horrible upbringing, but now she's a grown woman and she's literally going to jail and being let go and over and over and over and over again. And you would think that she would stop, but she doesn't. She just keeps going. And a few months later, would be arrested again on June 2nd, 1986. I'm probably going to end up saying this wrong. In Volsa County, and the deputy sheriff detained Wuornos for questioning when a male companion accused her of pulling a gun on him in his car, demanding $200. Yeah. See, I don't know if that was a prostitution thing because she was hooking. She says that multiple times. She was hooking and traveling, and that's how she got around. I mean, could you imagine picking somebody up? Okay, just think of somebody if you're trying to be a nice person. You see somebody, it's cold outside. You want to give them a ride. You give them a ride, and you just, you're driving. They want to go Walmart. They would, wherever they need to drive home. And as you're going down the road, they pull a gun on you and demand $200. Gosh, that's got to be scary. I'm serious. That's got to be scary. My heart would stop at least. And I'd give them whatever they wanted, and don't be a hero in these moments. You see the videos on Facebook, people slapping guns out of your hands. They'll pull the trigger as you don't do it. Just don't do it, guys. Do what they say, and that's literally the most likely way you're going to survive that situation. It's facts. Look it up. Okay, so she pulls the gun on this guy. Wuornos was found carrying spare ammunition. The police discovered a .22 pistol. Yet again, underneath the seat that she was sitting in, she was later released again. Okay, so she got in trouble at the bar, throwing cue balls at people. Now she's pulled a gun on somebody. You would think the cops would just you could get her on something. You would think, put her away for a little bit, get her some help, and maybe she wouldn't do the things that she would have done. So she's released again. Around this time, in June of 1986, Wuornos met Tyra Moore. This would be her lesbian lover. She would go on to say, ever since that moment that they met, they would immediately have a strong bond and become inseparable, and you would see them everywhere together. She was a hotel maid at Daytona Beach's lesbian bar, and they moved in together, and Wuornos supported them by the only way that she knew how, with that sweet prostitution money. Yeah. And she is hooking all the way. Trust me, I'm telling you, she'll tell you, she'll let you know. Watch the documentaries. On July 4th, 1987, in Daytona Beach, the police detained Wuornos and Moore, and this was at a bar for questioning. They were questioning them in regards of an incident in which they were accused of assault and battery with beer bottles. It just keeps going, guys. It just keeps going. Okay, so she gets detained again. Okay, so after the beer bottle, she would put down her life of crime, not really put it down, but just put it aside for a little bit, for about 8 months. Okay, so on March 12th, 1988, Wuornos accused a Daytona Beach bus driver of assault. She claimed that he pushed her off the bus following a confrontation. Moore, her lesbian lover, was listed as a witness to this incident. At this point, she has nothing more to lose and turns to the worst on November 30th, 1989. Okay, so up until November 30th, 1989, Richard Charles Mallory, he was at the age of 51. He was an electronics store owner in Clearwater, Florida. And Wuornos was picked up, and she took him to this road, would kill him there, and shoot him 2 times in the chest with a .22 revolver. She claimed to have killed him in self-defense. Wuornos claimed that she was sodomized and brutally beaten after being driven to an abandoned area for sexual requests. It wasn't until December 13th, 1989, when two young men were looking for scrap metal along the dirt road, and it was a closed dirt road, and it led to Interstate 95 in Volusia County, Florida. They found a body several miles away in a wooded area wrapped in a rubber-backed carpet runner. Blech. Wow, that was a real tongue twister. They called the police, and that's when the investigation really starts. And then they start, looking in her direction. The cause of death was found out by a physician who discovered 2 bullet shots in his left lung. She doesn't stop there. She would end up having a total of 7 victims overall. She meets all of her victims the same way. She'll be out hooking. So let's just jump into it all. On June 1st, 1990, David Andrew Spears, age 47, would be found naked in the woods of Citrus County, Florida, about 40 miles north of Tampa. It took him 6 days to identify him. He was shot 6 times by a .22 revolver, and they actually ended up finding a used condom by his dead body. Okay, she continues to lure in her prey with prostitution and decides she needs to go on a killing spree. When I later did research, she said it wasn't like a thrill kill. It wasn't thrilling to kill. She was just into robbing people. On May 31st, 1990, a part-time rodeo worker by the name of Charles Edmund, oh God, that's going to be hard to say, Cars Caden. Okay, so he was 40 years old when they found his body in Pasco County. He had been shot 9 times with a .22 caliber weapon, and the body had been wrapped in an electrical blanket and was badly decomposed. I couldn't imagine. Okay, I couldn't imagine coming across the body, period, let alone multiple. That really had to have messed with them, I couldn't see that many bodies, let alone one that's that badly decomposed. So witnesses saw Wuornos in possession of Cars Caden's car. And Wuornos had also pawned a gun identified as belonging to Cars Caden. Peter Abraham Sims was her 4th person she had murdered. He was 65 years old and retired as a merchant salesman in June 1990. Sims? I'm just going to say Sims from here on out. It's Siems. Sims left Jupiter, Florida for Arkansas. On July 4th, 1990, his car was found in Florida, in Orange Springs. So obviously he wouldn't make it to Arkansas. That would suck. Trying to go on a vacation and then get murdered. Okay, so Aileen Wuornos had wrecked into him, and they were seen abandoning their car. And her palm print was found on the interior door handle. They had found blood in his car, but the body was never found. Troy Eugene Burgess, age 50, would be her 5th victim. He was a sausage salesman from Ocala. On July 31st, 1990, he was reported missing. On August 4th, 1990, his body was found in a wooded area along State Road 19 in Marion County. Okay, so at this point, all the men she had killed were older. And I mean, me personally, I wonder if she was taking her anger out on these older guys because her father was never there, or maybe because of everything that her grandfather had done to her. Okay, let's talk about the next guy. Charles Richard Dick Humphrey. And that's what it was saying. Why do people call Richards Dick? I mean, I never understood that. Maybe there's something that somebody can explain to me, but I never understood that. Why would you do that? Why would you call Richards Dick? Anyways, he was 56 when he was murdered, and on September 11th, 1990, he retired from being a U.S. Air Force major, former state child abuse investigator, and a former chief of police. On September 12th, 1990, his body was found in Marion County. He was fully clothed and he had been shot 6 times in his head and torso. His car was found in Swain County. Man, I wonder if she killed him because he and the other officers didn't protect her in her youth. Maybe it was something along those lines. Everybody she claims that everybody she killed was because of prostitution. So I mean, he was already doing that, and maybe that kind of pushed her a little bit to make it a little easier. I don't know. She just liked robbing people too. So who knows? But okay, let's go on to her final murder, her seventh murder. Her seventh murder was Walter Gino Antonio. He was 62 years old. He was a trucker, security guard. He was a police reservist. On November 19th, 1990, Antonio's body was found nearly naked near a remote logging road in Dixie County. It was a tongue twister. He had been shot 4 times, and it wasn't until 5 days later that his car was found in Brevard County. He had been found dead, and multiple gunshot wounds were found in his head and neck. That's exhausting. That's a lot of murder. So, what do you guys think at this point? I don't feel bad for her anymore because she did all this. And she did it out of neglect for life. Remember that. She had no regard for life, what those men were, who they were, what they did in their lifetime, if they had children, if they had a wife. She didn't care. She took, these 7 men away from loved ones, fathers, mothers, parents, children, brothers, sisters. She took these people away from them. So that's where my opinion really changes. Her childhood was messed up. Don't get me wrong. Completely messed up, and nothing can ever justify it. That is just so wrong, and that sucks that happened to her. Then she decides in her adult years that she doesn't want to make the right decisions. She's going through the trials of all these murders in all these different places, and people think she's innocent. She has one heck of a convincing story. Okay, so you're probably wondering when all this finally caught up with her. Her killing spree lasted for about a year and 2 months, from November 1989 until January 1991. Okay, so you got a little bit of a time frame of how long these murders really took. That's a long time to that many people consistently and just go on about your daily life like nothing happened. Oh, yep, I killed him, and keep going and just keep doing it. Wuornos did a hit and run on July 4th, 1990. Wuornos and Moore abandoned Sims' car after they were involved in an accident. Witnesses who seen the women driving the victim's car provided police with their names and their description. This resulted in a media campaign to locate them. The media is, really looking for these people. Everybody's looking for these people, these 2 women. She was her Bonnie to her Clyde. Okay. Police also found some of the seventh victim's belongings in a pawn shop, retrieving fingerprints matching those found on the victim's car. So after all that, they go to a pawn shop, they find more fingerprints of Wuornos, all of her fingerprints. The reason why they were able to identify her is because of all the illegal crap she was doing. All right, guys. So on January 9th, 1991, Wuornos would finally be arrested for the last time on an outstanding warrant at the last resort, a biker bar, and it's a biker bar in Volusia County. Police located Moore the next day in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I hope I'm saying that right. Okay, so Wuornos gets arrested, right? She gets arrested, and her female lover, Moore, they've been together for a long time. This is when Moore actually turns on her. The messed up thing is she was in on the killings too. She actually went to the police and was like, look, if I tell you this and I get her to confess and I do blah, 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 I get her to do all this stuff, can I get immunity? And they granted her immunity. She was in on it all and granted immunity, turns on her lover, and tells the police everything. The police ended up tapping a phone. They had her lover call Wuornos, and they were, sitting there talking. And I listened to the audio, and it was pretty messed up. Like I said, whoever you're getting involved with, obviously don't commit any crimes. I don't condone that, and neither does Twisted Couch Talk. But get to know who you're getting with. Take the time, get somebody who's actually going to be down for you and not turn their back on you. But anyways, she turns her back on her. She's on the phone. She's crying. She's like, "Oh, I can't. They're going to figure out it was me. I can't do it. I don't want to go to prison." And Wuornos is like, "You're not going to go. If I need to, I'll confess." And so basically saying, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." And that was enough for them to just continue with everything and all the evidence. So Moore was absolved. She was pardoned and didn't get anything happen to her. She is walking free to this day. To this day. 3 days later, on January 16th, 1991, Wuornos finally confesses to all the murders. She claimed that the men had tried to rape her and she had killed them in self-defense. All right, so this is still kind of early on in all the hearings and stuff. She would go on to say that every murder was in self-defense because all those guys were trying to rape her and, hurt her and all that. So she killed them all in self-defense. She sat waiting in a prison cell for a year before she got a trial on January 14th, 1992. Wuornos went to trial, and she went to many, many trials. She went to trial for her first murder, and although previous convictions are normally dismissed in criminal trials, but under Florida's Williams rule, the prosecution allows to introduce evidence related to other crimes to show a pattern of illegal activity. So in the first case, they go back in and they look at her past and they see everything she's doing. She's got DUIs. She's getting in trouble at bars multiple times, assault. She tried to, rob somebody at gunpoint. So all this is just adding up and adding up and adding up. Yeah. So due to all that, on January 27th, 1992, Wuornos was convicted of Mallory's murder with the help of Moore's testimony. At her sentencing, psychiatrists for the defense testified that Wuornos was mentally unstable and had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. 4 days later, she was sentenced to death. Personality disorder is a deeply integrated pattern of behavior of a specific kind of deviates markedly from the norms of general accepted behavior, typically appearing by the time of adolescence and causing long-term difficulties in personal relationships or functioning in society. Wuornos pleaded no contest to the murders of Humphreys, Burress, and Spears, saying that she just wanted to get right with God. And, when I was reading that, I was just, forgive me. I was thinking of the Green Mile, when he was like, walking the Green Mile, go get right with Jesus, and he just keeps saying that and just making a mockery of it. Let's continue to the court hearings and court cases. In June 1992, Wuornos pleaded guilty to the murder of Cascaden. All right, so let's get back to this. So after she during the trial, she is, continuously saying that she did, she killed these guys out of self-defense, but, nonetheless, she ended up getting 3 more death sentences. So she's got 4 death sentences already. In June 1992, Wuornos pleaded guilty to the murder of Cars Caden, the guy that went missing in November in 1992. She received her 5th death sentence. Her defense, they made efforts to try to involve Mallory's past and tried to say, because he was convicted of, sex crimes, but he ended up going to a facility and getting it all squared away, whatever. And they tried to say that it was out of self-defense. They tried bringing that case in, that he was already charged with blah, blah, blah. But, okay, so records were obtained from that institution, and it reflected that, indeed, from 1958 to 1962, Mallory was committed for treatment and observation resulting in criminal charge of assault with intent to rape, and overall 8 years was spent in this treatment facility. Yeah, and so they continued on with the defense saying in 1961, it was observed that he possessed strong psychopathic trends. During the Wuornos trial, she would say that her victims were charged of rape and served 8 years, and did a lot of things and would serve time. That's what she was really trying to gain, the people's side and try to really seem innocent. She told several stories about the killings. She claimed all seven men raped her while she was working as a sex worker, and that was why she really did it. There you go. We got to that part, and I'm telling you, I was watching documentaries, and it was just so, it was so twisted just watching her because she scared the crap out of me. I'm not even gonna lie. I first watched her, I very first watched her, and she terrified me. She was a scary looking woman, and the way she talked was pretty messed up. But anyways, all right. So this is the documentary I've been talking about. During an interview with filmmaker Nick Broomfield, she went on to talk to him about a lot of different things. And I encourage you guys to watch it. It's going to fill in a lot of the gaps that I'm missing out. There was a point where they turned off the cameras and she had said, it's been 10 years and she's been waiting to die and she just was ready. And, throughout all the trials, she ended up getting, throughout all of them, her first one, she was actually sentenced to the electric chair. And then the last one was lethal injection. I'm not going to lie, I would so much rather take the lethal injection over the electric chair. And she wanted to take the electric chair. When Wuornos was incarcerated at the Florida Department of Corrections Broward Correctional Institution, BCI, death row for women, when transferred to the Florida State Prison for execution, she appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court and it was denied in 1996. What she appealed, I'm not exactly sure. But in 2001, that's when she ended up dismissing all of her, appeals and everything, and really just like took on what her fate was. And she ended up just going and just not riding the lightning, but taking the lethal injection. She wrote a letter terminating all of her appeals, writing, "I killed those men, and I robbed them as cold as ice, and I'd do it again. There's no chance in keeping me alive or anything, because I'd kill again. I have hate crawling through my system. I am so sick of hearing this she's crazy stuff. I've been evaluated so many times. I'm competent and I'm sane. And I'm trying to tell the truth. I'm an individual who seriously hates human life and I would kill again." She stated one time that she was getting so mad that she was waiting to be executed that she was ready to kill another person and shed blood and, kill somebody in prison if they're not going to hurry up and execute her. So yeah, she's starting to really lose her stuff. Her attorneys, they ended up jumping in and arguing that she was not mentally competent to make such a request. Wuornos insisted that she knew what she was doing, and a court-appointed panel of psychiatrists also agreed. But who knows? I mean, I think this woman had some sort of insanity in her while she was incarcerated because she claimed so many different things. She goes on to say, in 2002, she began accusing prison matrons, and matrons are women. They are in charge of domestic and medical arrangements at the boarding school or other establishments. So basically, they're there to help out. She had accused them of tainting her food with dirt, saliva, and urine. She said she had overheard conversations among prison personnel. They were trying to get me so pushed over the brink by them, I'd wind up committing suicide. Okay, she would go on saying they would try to push me so far to where I would commit suicide before this execution, and they were wishing that they would rape me before my execution. She also complained of strip searches, tight handcuffing, door kicking, frequent window checks, low water pressure, mild dew in her mattress, and catcalling. People, catcalling her and saying, "Hey, baby," and distaste and pure hatred towards me. Okay, so she's talking about all that. And I'm sorry, if you do this kind of stuff, you're gonna you're gonna be in a prison, okay? You're gonna be in a prison and it's not gonna be luxurious. All right. You're going to deal with some crap, especially if you did horrific things. You know what I mean? You're not going to be treated with, first class service. It's not going to happen. And so, I mean, I don't really feel bad. She did what she did and it is what it is. Maybe she shouldn't have done what she did and just been so vulgar with everything she says to the people. And you'll see what I mean once I get more into it and I'll mention parts of the documentary and you'll see what I mean. Due to all this, Wuornos threatened to boycott showers and food trays, only whenever certain officers were on duty. Okay, she says, quote, In the meantime, my stomach is growling and I'm taking showers through my sink in my cell. Her attorney said that Miss Wuornos really just wants to have proper treatment, humane treatment, until at least until the day that she's executed. He also added she believes what she has written. Okay, basically, what she had done had to be done, and it's done. It's over with, and she truly believes that. In the weeks before her execution, Wuornos gave a series of interviews to Broomfield, the guy's documentary I've been talking about. And she had also talked about being taken away to meet God and Jesus and the angels or whatever is beyond the beyond. So she really jumped on the God train, really jumped on the God train. And I mean, honestly, that's really going to happen days before if you knew you were going to die. I'm pretty sure 90% of people would at least jump on and start praying. If I wasn't a praying man, I know I would. Okay, so she just wanted to be taken away to meet God and Jesus and all the angels or whatever's beyond the great beyond. In her final interview, the one I've been talking about a little bit, she once again stated that her mind was tortured at BCI, the place, where she was held for so long. Okay, so she actually said this, and the way she explained it was so weird. Okay, so they get TV by satellite dish, and she said that her head had been crushed by sonic pressure due to like all the transmissions between the satellite and the TV, and it was messing with her head. Food poisonings was another thing she was complaining about, and the abuse had worsened. And she would always complain about how the media was trying to make her look insane, but they really drove her insane. She says a lot of just mumbo jumbo that makes no sense. A lot of it just random outbursts of rage. And every time she got like a death sentence, she would be like, "F you and F you and F you," and she would say just horrible things to the jury. You did what you did. You got to face up to it. You know what I mean? You got to face up to what you do. Some of this wasn't all in her final interview because there was more final interview on the day of her execution. But this was in the day before her execution. In the day before her execution, she said all the media tried to do was try to make her insane to everybody around the globe. You sabotaged my ass society and the cops and the system. A raped woman got executed. It was used for books and movies and shit. Okay, that was all yet, the day before she got executed. And she went on to say, "Thanks a lot, society, for railroading my ass." You can thank yourself because you made the decisions you made. Wuornos was finally executed, and it took place October 9th, 2002. On that day is the final recording, and this is whenever she goes from, she's livid. She's going into court, there's this one when she gets her first death sentence. She tells the jury, she gets up and she looks at him and she goes, "I hope your children and your women and your wives are raped in the ass, blah, blah, blah." And just going off and saying, "F you to the judge, and F you," and this and that. And it's just, she goes irate. So she really does. I mean, she's complaining that everybody's saying she looks crazy, but she's making herself look crazy. The media is producing what she's saying, And it's true. I've seen her say it. I've heard the words come out of her mouth. There's no cuts or edited or, they copied and pasted it together to make it sound like she said something. None of that happened. And then this is where she comes forth and she's really humble. At least she does this. And she apologizes to all the family on camera and she admits to everything, absolutely everything. In the beginning, she's trying to get away with it. People and society are on her side, guys. They are on her side. They are not wanting her to get executed. Some people are, some people aren't. It's just back and forth, back and forth. And she really convinced so many people that this stuff really happened. And she never was. She never was raped. She confessed at the very end that it was just because she wanted to rob people. She wanted to get that out and right so she can get right with her God. So yeah, to the people who didn't know the truth, now you know. Make your own opinion. Was she this innocent person that murdered these men and did all these things that she did and committed all these crimes that she did? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. I really don't. I think that horrible upbringing shouldn't happen to anybody, but she did what she did and she got what she deserved. She ruthlessly, heartlessly did this stuff and so has to suffer the consequences just like everybody else. So let's just get back into it. Wuornos was finally executed, and it took place on October 9th, 2002, and she died by lethal injection at the age of 46. Her heart had stopped beating at 9:47 a.m. Okay, so here let's get to a little part where a lot of people I've noticed really like this part of any kind of trial. Um, Her final meal. Okay, so let's get to her final meal, and I don't have anything funny or I don't have anything crazy. Sometimes people's final meal is something really good, or somebody would be like tuna or onion rings, onions, ridiculous stuff. But yeah, okay. So she declined her final meal, and she could have gotten anything under $20. Could have got a big McDouble. Some of that sweet and sour sauce. Throw that on there, some fries. You guys know what I'm talking about. That's some delicious stuff. She could have got anything under $20. She goes, no, I'll just have a nice hot cup of Joe and get some coffee instead. Her final words, they're just as you would expect somebody who's getting ready to die. This is what you would expect them to say. Something at least along these lines. I would just like to say, I'm sailing with the rock. I'll be back. Like Independence Day. With Jesus. June 6th. Like the movie. Big mothership and all that. I'll be back. I'll be back. Okay. See, that's where I'm just like, now you're making yourself sound a little bit more insane. Okay, she found God. That's good for her. Good for her, whatever. And she is in. Okay, so fun fact of the week. Okay, so check this out. Aileen Wuornos was the 10th woman in the United States and the second in Florida to be executed since 1976. Since the 1976 United States Supreme Court decision restoring capital punishment. Wow. So they restored capital punishment in Florida back in 1976. There's a fun fact for you. Okay, so for those of you who may be wondering, what did they do with the body? Was she buried? Did they have a funeral? Her body was actually cremated, and her ashes were spread beneath a tree in her native Michigan by her childhood friend, Don Bodkins. Wuornos had requested that Natalie Merchant's song Carnival be played at her funeral, and they also ended up using that song to be played at the end of the documentary Aileen's Life and Death of a Serial Killer. Look it up on YouTube. That's where I saw it. It's actually pretty decently put together. I hope I was able to bring the truth to you guys. That one was really, I was trying to have some fun with it too, but I really wanted to be, get this out there and share the twist, because this is a pretty messed up story with everything that she went through. And it's really unfortunate. It really just shows you how child development is so important. Tell your kids you love them every time you get a chance. Tell them that they're beautiful or they're handsome. Let's raise this next generation to not be that way. Just squeeze your kids just a little tighter. Let them know you love them. And that was, Aileen Wuornos, a serial killer. But now y'all know what time it is. It's time for that beautiful top 5 recap. Okay, so number 1, she had it rough growing up. As I've mentioned so many times before, being raped and having a child, giving him up for adoption, all by her alcoholic grandfather. And then she got kicked out of the house and was forced to live in the woods behind her house. Number 2, she was a heavy drinker with a don't give a damn attitude and had multiple charges against her due to such as DUI, assault, and disturbing the peace. Number 3, she was married to a man. They divorced, and she found her love with a woman who would end up giving her up in the end. Number 4, she shot and killed 7 men during a prostitution exchange, and that was just the ones we know about. Who else could she, possibly killed? Her main choice of weapon was a .22 pistol. Number 5, throughout all this, she literally gained sympathy from everybody by making up these lies that these gentlemen raped her, and it was a lie. To come clean in the end, to admit all the murders that she had done. She was truly a twisted individual with a rough upbringing. Nonetheless, she was an adult and she could have made the decisions to not do what she did. She chose to go down this twisted spiral into that dark abyss of no return and executed 7 men because of her twisted ways. And she ended up having her ashes spread the day after my birthday on October 9th, 2002. Wow. And thank you guys so much for listening. Now it's time to jump into the updates. Okay, so episode 1, I was talking about how Sagawa killed this woman at her house. I was wrong. I was reading it wrong, and that's something that I got to improve on. Thank you guys for pointing it out. I greatly appreciate it, and because I want to get the truth out there. I want to get the truth and all the twists that I can get out there. Correction. He did not cut her up in her own home. He did not kill her in her own home. He invited her back to his house and killed her and continued with what he did. It all happened at Sagawa's house. Okay, so I actually had somebody message me and get a hold of me about my great white buffalo tangent. She said, "Why do we have to be great white buffalo? Women don't want to be a buffalo." And so I chuckled. And you're right. You are right 100%. So from now on, you beautiful women out there, I will refer to you as the great majestic unicorn. So there you go. No more great white buffalo. That's gone. You won't hear it come out of my mouth again. To continue, I finally was able to get accepted for a Facebook page. Join it, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. I want to see this community grow and really see what we can do here. Have some fun with it. Also, somebody had mentioned, how are you going to mention that there's a twisted dog and not have any pictures? I'm going to have pictures of Rubble the Twisted Couch Dog on Facebook. Updates and everything else. I'll be on there talking. Go ahead and follow it, guys. Let's go ahead and grow that Facebook page. I apologize if I didn't go as deep into my tangents as I typically would, but we'll get into it in the next episode. Next episode's going to be fantastic. Sneak peek. It's going to be the Russian Doll Man. Make sure you guys leave a 5-star rating, thumbs up, a like, heart, wherever you guys are listening. That's important. That's how we're going to spread and grow. And you email in your stories. And I've thought about it. And, there's a lot of different stories out there that's not on the internet that I can't get a hold of. So I would love for you guys to send in your twisted topics. Send them into our email at twistedcouchtalkproductions@gmail.com. You send it in to us. I'll read it. And I was thinking about if I can get a good chunk of them, I might make it into a bonus episode. Hey, just a thought. There could be so much good twisted talk out there to be had. So let me know. Feedback. I want to hear from you guys. That's so important because that's how I improve. With the updates, I was sitting here telling you what people have told me, and I'm going to correct it. So let's get this right. Let's build a community that we will all love. Next, here's where you guys can actually find the podcast. If you're finding it elsewhere, awesome. Look at Apple Podcasts. You might be able to find it there. I'm really trying hard to get everything on there because that's, the biggest place to go. I'm really trying to get on there, and let me know if you guys can see it on Apple Podcasts. Like, my podcasts are available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Podcast Addicts, Podchaser, Pocket Casts, Deezer, Listen Notes, Player FM, Podcast Index, and a few other places. So Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, TuneIn, Alexa, and those are to come. I'm waiting on Pandora and iHeartRadio and Stitcher, and I'm waiting on my approval. But you can listen everywhere else. You can listen everywhere else and on Facebook. That's important for you guys to know where you can find the podcast so you can let people know, hey, find it here. Lastly, I had somebody actually message me saying they wanted to donate to the show. And so I started looking into it, and I found this thing called Patreon. Patreon is my business website, per se. You can come and donate, and it's a monthly subscription. So that way you guys know, to help the show, I can get better equipment. I don't know if you guys can tell. I went out and bought a microphone today and got it ready to record. So hopefully it's coming through crisp and clear and delicious. I want to be able to spend money, like good money, on good equipment. This is just a cheapo depot from Walmart, so I don't have so much background noise or echo or my voice comes through clear. And so check out my Patreon. I'll explain a little bit about it. I had some fun making it. I based the Patreon around you guys. And I'm going to go through this really quick. I'm going to try and get it done so that way we can get to the end. You go to my Patreon at patreon.com/Twisted Couch Talk. That's again, patreon.com/Twisted Couch Talk. Here's what it's about. Patreon, you can subscribe to me, and I decided that I'm going to give the people who decide to pick these tiers that I'm going to explain, you get the unedited, raw audio of all my mistakes, all my goofiness, just everything. The things that I think can't be in the podcast because it might offend people or whatever. You're going to be able to have access to that. I will upload that to Patreon, and you guys will be able to listen to the raw audio of me trying to get through this story. And you get it a couple days earlier. You're going to get it on a Wednesday, possibly a Thursday. So keep track of the Patreon. Keep track of that. And you'll be able to see what's going on. Now, this is my favorite part. So I have 4 tiers that I've created. And I like the first one. My first one that I call is You're an Average Twisted Joe. In the description, it says, pick this tier if you listen here and there. And you enjoy the Twisted Talk and want to give up some of that sweet coin to help me out in the show. Tier number 2 is Twisted Cinnamon Rolls. You're a Twisted Cinnamon Roll. The description of this says, okay, this tier is for the ones who have to stop the show a few times because it's just too much. They must take a break to make up some of those delicious Twisted Cinnamon Rolls and relax with some milk and delicious pastries. After they have taken a break, they come back an hour, maybe even a day later, but they finish the episode and they still want to listen to every episode. And that's a Twisted Cinnamon Roll. Go ahead and join if that's you. Oh, and I have pictures of all these and I love it. Come check it out. The description says, pick this tier if you're a twisted stranger for the ones that deep down love everything about the Twisted Couch but can't talk about it openly because the twist is just too much. But you can't stand to miss an episode and wait with anticipation for next week's twist. And that is a Twisted Stranger. The final tier is the 4th tier. It's a F5, Twisted Tornado. Choose this tier, but it's only for the ultimate worthy twist heads. For the ones who can stomach everything, and I mean everything, Twisted Couch Talk has to say. Also, they can talk about it as if it were regular conversation. They spread the twist and don't miss an episode. Are you worthy of this title? Also, if you donate to the Patreon, you will become an official sponsor. Basically, I'm going to, find out who you are, and because it's going to tell me, and whatever your username is, I'm going to write it down and give each and every one of you beautiful, amazing twist heads a shout out if you want to donate. So that way, my sponsors, you guys, will get your shout out. And if you're making a podcast or you have something that you want to promote, use the ID as the title of whatever you're trying to promote, and I'll promote it. Use it for however you want to. But for now, let's go ahead and climb out of this abyss. Let's get back to some sort of normality. I hope you all enjoyed the telling of that story as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week on the couch with another twisted topic. But for now, don't sell your bodies for profit. Put your 22s away, put your couches back, kick your friends out, and we'll see you guys next week on the couch. Stay twisted, you twisted mother lovers.